Okay. Welcome to our final meeting of the Special Education Technology Center Universal Design Daily Book Study. Thanks to those of you who have been on this journey with us, shared your ideas and questions. I think this has been a real nice collaboration and fun to hear what everybody's thinking and doing, especially since we have people from all different disciplines. So welcome today to our final session. You all know where to find the handouts today. One handout to maybe pull up or have available is the tools spreadsheet. So if you could stick that one in the chat, the one that has tools and links, so that if things come up, you can add it to this sheet or we can add it together. I have added some things from some of the slides that you may want to look at. That could be one thing you share with folks. Okay, just a reminder that we're here talking about universal design for learning. This is that quote from the book that kind of anchors what we're discussing today. Keeping things flexible, responsive, and relevant for all students. Okay, so today is all about action and expression and representation. That makes up a good chunk of our book. Lots to talk about today. So many really great tips that that I know I wanted to dive into a little bit more on several of these, and maybe there's some that you think, hey, I know about this, which is always fun too. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me just double check our chat to see how we're doing. Okay, thanks for putting the links in there, Sue. Where can we find the prior recordings of these meetings? I'm sorry, I think I didn't send out last week's recording, so I will do that. And then Sue, are they going to be on our SETC YouTube channel? Oh, you're muted, but yes, sounds like it will be. And Sue, maybe you could put the link to that, our SETC YouTube channel. That would be great. So you'll be able to find all these recordings if you want them all in one place. Otherwise, we'll make sure to send it out also after this book study. Anything to add on that, Sue?
No, just that we are offering clock hours for this event, and this is the last of the 4 hours available. So you'll need to make sure you're registered for that, and then I'll confirm them later in the week after we've compiled all the numbers, and you'll be able to claim those right away.
Great. Okay. Thanks. Okay, so today we're going to do things a little differently. We're going to have 2 breakout sessions, and then we're going to have a way to share ideas that's a little different. I'm starting here with action and expression. So action expression in the book and in UDL principle is all about offering options for students to respond in various ways. The author gives lots of ideas for this, and then a lot of explore your own things to explore on your own. I picked out these 2, days 196 and 197. A lot of these go together, but I picked out these 2 to talk about. First, offering response options, and then offering handwriting alternatives. The author discusses removing barriers caused by motor demands, and gets into a little bit of detail about that on day 196. So just a nice reminder for us to think about what are other ways that students may need to respond when there are motor difficulties. And also that even students with motor difficulties deserve a choice, right? And have preference on what they want to do for responses, and it may change throughout the day. So they may prefer using a switch for some activities, but something different for other activities. So for all of our students, that choice piece comes in again as being so important. I put some links here that in our tools spreadsheet that Sue put in the chat. The author talks about things like if there are motor difficulties in maybe manipulatives for math might be helpful, responding to math in a different way. So GeoGebra is an example of an online resource for this. And on our website, we do have a section about math. I think I might have put that on the tool sheet, but if not, I'll make sure to get that. Linda Daly's added lots of information about math options and AT for math. Looking at offering handwriting as an alternative, we know that speech recognition is available pretty widely now, right? Where it used to be, at least for me, I remember we only had Dragon, and that's what we taught. And now there's so many options. Like here on this slide, we've got Google Voice Typing, which is just there for everyone. One thing I wanted to point out that I really use a lot in consultations that my OT friend showed me years ago was the speech recognition as AT for writing guide. This is the QR code for it if you want to hold up your phone camera, and it'll pop up with a link. But also in that tools spreadsheet, there's the link to this guide. I'm just going to show it real quick. And then please feel free to put in the chat if you've used this. I know we have a lot of great OTs and others who may use it, but talk to your OT also if you haven't. It's a really great guide for looking at speech recognition. My favorite pieces are these. This idea of the tool belt theory, that it's just one piece of what we might offer students. And again, that just fits right into this UDL offering choices. But that, there are different reasons you may or may not use speech to text, like note taking in class. Well, it's hard to talk when a teacher is talking, right? So that might not be appropriate, but for long answers or sentences on a test, you might be able to do that. The other thing that's important here, they have this process: consider it, try it, the speech recognition, assess it, and implement it. And so when you go down to the assess it part, a lot of good instructions for trying it, which is really helpful. But here in the assessment part, it really helps. It gives you some great ideas. And one of the first things it talks about is user preference. Our students, how do students feel about this? Because we know that students need to be on board with using it to use a lot of assistive technology. That's just true for a lot of things. So they have some nice questions that you can ask, and then other more formal ways to assess. So it's something you could talk to your OT about. But has anybody used this guide or have any comments or questions? I see we've got a lot in the chat here, so I'll pull that up too. Okay, just some comments about fine motor. Some folks who have used the guide. Great. And some other comments. Great. Good discussion in the chat here. And it's great for parents. Yes. Yep. And I also like it when we've had teams and training their paraeducators using it. Great. Okay. Thanks, everyone. So let's go back to our slides here. We are going to, sorry about that. All right. We're going to take in the next about 5 minutes to kind of do what we're doing in the chat, but a little different, talking about action and expression. So what page does that start on? 219 in our book. So looking at the action expression section in your book and those tips all the way up until representation, we're going to just have some brainstorming on a Padlet. And if you haven't used Padlet before, it's just another way to have expression, right? Have students sharing ideas. And we use it a lot in within our staff as well. So we'll put the link in the chat, unless I think Sue's probably already done that. There's also a QR code if that's helpful for you. pull up your phone camera and pull it up. So go ahead and add a tile about action expression. Maybe it's something that you're doing, something that struck you from the book, or talking about a tip and how you're going to be using it or expanding on it. And after we do this, we'll have some time in a breakout room to discuss it in more detail. So I'm going to pull it up so you can see what it looks like in case you're not there yet. It looks like this, and see, my Zoom things are in the way. You'll click on this plus down here to add a post. And then you can give it a title or just start typing. Day 245, and then just write something that you liked about it. I don't have it pulled up right now, or any thoughts you have about this. And I can see that folks are able to access it. So feel free to add information about it, any details you want. You can also add, you can add a picture. Whoops, sorry. You could add a GIF. You can just add text, whatever works best for you. So we'll take a few minutes to do this, and then we'll come together in some breakout rooms. And let me know if anybody's having a hard time with the link to the Padlet. You don't need an account for Padlet. It should just let you access this the way I've set it up, so that you can just add to this Padlet without signing in. Okay, so we'll spend a few more minutes writing down some thoughts. I see somebody's got day 201, everyone use AAC. That's one of my faves. And somebody figured out how to add pictures to the Padlet. That's great. Keep on going. Sue, while we're finishing up with the Padlet, I saw there are a few clock hour questions in the chat if you want to respond, if you haven't already seen those. This is great. We have so many ideas about action and expression. I think we're going to have some really great conversation coming up. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. And we're going to start some breakout sessions. And I will set us up again as early elementary. Here, let me pull up that visual since I didn't before. Oops, sorry, things are in the way here. We'll do our early learning, elementary, secondary, and adult learning breakout groups. And you're also welcome to stay in the main room if you don't want to join one of those groups. And I know many of us have multiple roles, so just join what suits you today. So I'm going to open up those 4 rooms, and you should be able to join. And what we'll do today is talk about this Padlet, you might want to share what your tip was or what stood out to you. You're also welcome to talk about the guiding questions, which are similar today. For action and expression, what's something you can add to your teaching or coaching to support multiple means of expression? So feel free to talk about that or the Padlet. I know you all just kind of get going in your rooms. So I'm going to stop sharing here and start open our rooms in a minute. And we'll have about 15 minutes in the rooms. Hi, folks. Welcome back. I'm sorry, that probably wasn't a full 15 minutes. I just realized that we have one more breakout room and it's always fun to hear from everyone. So I hope you had enough time to get some chatting in. What we'll do right now, let's have maybe one from each group share out. If you heard a tip that you liked or you had a conversation that was interesting. How about early learning? Was there anything folks wanted to share? What did y'all talk about?
Could probably stop sharing the screen. We could see each other.
Okay, let's do that. Good. Thank you.
We talked a lot about some technology that our schools have, like Snap and Read, and using. I probably shouldn't be the one talking about this because I wasn't the one that brought it up, but using some speech recognition software through Google, and we were just all talking about how many amazing tips there are here for expression for our kids who, communication and expression are so vital to preschool and early learning, that these are just amazing things to try to implement for next year. So lots of ideas that we want to, get on and try next year.
Great. Communication is a big piece. Thanks for sharing, Kathy. Elementary, this is a giant group, but if anybody wants to share out one thing from elementary, please do. I know it's hard when there's so many to decide, but. All right.
Something that our group talked about, was talking a lot about is just how much we like these ideas, but also how with the restrictions the last year, how some of them have been hard. So there was a lot of really hoping for next year to be normal so we can implement more.
Definitely. Yeah, thanks, Leah. That's a really great point. Okay, secondary, anybody want to share something from secondary group?
I didn't share out. I was mostly a listener in the group, but one of the things that was talked about was letting everybody have some time to train on some of the assistive technology, because there's some pushback from kids not wanting to use it, feeling different, or from some parents. So the speech to text, text to speech, maybe having some dedicated time to everybody learning how to do that. And then it could be a choice. And then just for me, I learned about something called Pixton, which is a comic strip maker, which I think will be exciting to try next year.
Great, thank you. All right, so don't forget that tools spreadsheet. If you guys, maybe see if you could put that in the chat again, that'd be a great place to put that Pixton and other tools. Thanks so much. How about the adult learning folks? Does anyone want to share?
Sharon shared quite a few good tips, as well as Dottie. One thought that came to me was the flipped classroom concept of asking them to do something in advance, but to include in the readings that you ask them to do in advance also instructions and other things that you would hope that they have have read before your synchronous meetings.
Oh, great. Great. Good input. Thanks. Thanks for sharing. Okay. This is exciting. I love the way these groups are working out. So let's keep going. We're going to move on to representation and have time to do more sharing. So I think that's where the power is here. So this whole section is about presenting information in different ways for students, customizing the display of information, having alternatives for audio information, visuals, alt text, having alternatives for visual information, maybe even doing a craft, one of the tips talks about, or screen readers and things like that. Clarifying vocabulary, activating background knowledge, lots to think about here. I just picked out day 305, Adopt an Ally, which is about Reading Ally. And I think some folks have experience with that, which is also similar to Bookshare. And that's a free tool that is may even be in your school district and you may not even know, or maybe you're using it already. But check with an assistive technology person, or sometimes it's a librarian that manages it. But it's a reading tool for students with textbooks, magazines, literature, online with speech to text, and a lot of visual options as well for modifications. Tar Heel Reader is an accessible online place to find books. These are written by anyone, so you could even write a book with your class and post it or have it as a draft. But there's text to speech, and these are accessible with a switch for students with motor challenges. I think they talked about Storyline Online, right? That was the next tip, Read with the Stars. That's a great one if you haven't explored it yet. And then I also just put Pictello, which is another way you could do stories. You could also do video modeling. You could have students show how to do something, or you could show them something as they're reading the story. Pictello is an app on an iPad. It's also Switch accessible. And then I just put this little picture of page fluffers as an idea for physically accessing books. But let's bring it back to you all and get our Padlet started. So Sue, if you could put our representation Padlet in there, and we'll take a few minutes to add. You can add a picture, you can add a link to something, but thinking about representation section in the book, the final part of the final days. What stood out to you? What are you doing? What are you going to try? What did you like? So go ahead and pull up that Padlet. I'll pull it up as well. And add your ideas. Please let us know if you have any trouble with accessing the Padlet. Okay, lots of good ideas. The sticky notes, the wax museum. I'd be interested to hear about that a little bit more. This is great. You can keep adding. I'm going to go ahead and pull up our breakout rooms again. I think we could start the discussion about this. So I'm going to take a minute to make the rooms, and then you can join again. You can join the same room. You can change your room, whatever works best for you. Okay, folks are still coming back from breakout rooms. We're just going to give another minute to finish that up. Welcome back, everyone. That probably felt a bit short. And honestly, let us know. I think Sue's going to have a survey in a minute in general, but let us know if you'd like more breakout time, if you have ideas. Your feedback is really helpful, and we will be offering this again in the fall. You're welcome to join again. You're welcome to have teams join, share with a friend, but we'd love your feedback because you're the important part here, and we want to make sure that this is what you're looking for. Before we finish up here today, I just wanted to there are a few things I was going to share. On our website, we have this inclusive learning website that we made when pandemic started, and we were trying to focus on how to help families and providers at home. And there's a section about accessibility tips and tools across platforms, and 2 versions of this infographic with these 8 tips. I think this is this is some of the information from the book, but one thing you might like is that it's just in a flyer that you could print and share with folks, or send a link to folks about some tips already kind of available for you. So you can take a look through that, see if it's helpful. It also links to some other ideas for diving deeper into this. And one I just wanted to point out, this National Center on Accessible Educational Materials. So if you are looking at, adding text descriptions, it's going to give you some ideas of how to do this in Microsoft or in Google, how to caption videos, color contrasting, things like that. So look through that if it's helpful. I think Sue put it in the chat. We are close to ending our time, so let's just spend the last few minutes. Sue's probably going to put the link to our survey. If you can do that, that's always helpful for us. Thank you. Let's spend the last 2 minutes with the share out. Anything that stood out to you, it could be from the representation breakout, or it could just be anything you're thinking about doing going ahead. What are your next steps? It's open to you all.
We talked about organization, at the importance of organization and at the elementary level, but going into, like, I'm 5th grade, so going into middle school and learning early on, someone in our group was saying, even those little kids learning how to organize their workspace at their desk or their box. And we talked about the fact that, parents really learned what their kids were like too, with COVID being at home and needing to have their organizational spaces. And just talking about the difference though, for us as teachers, and how do we make what works for us, how do we use that with our kids as well? Because, a paper organizational tool or paper schedule or planner might work really well for us, but a kid's not going to use that, or another teacher's, it's not going to work for them. So how do we use what works for us for those students, and not weigh them down with 5 million options, but streamline it for them and be effective for them, but be effective ourselves? Does that make sense? That's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, it does. That organization is huge. Thank you.
I'm going to pop on top of that, Catherine, because it's important at secondary too, to help kids to organize their Google Drive. Yeah.
That's right. We have so many new technologies to organize and learn. It's a good point. Thanks. Anyone
Yeah,
else want to share?
Valerie, we're a 365 school district, and it was the same thing when they were online for 6 months. It's like, oh, I can't find that thing. I'm like, that's why we're naming it with your name and the name of the thing. Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't thought of that.
And teachers too. I've had to help quite a few because you know, I mean, we all remember the big file cabinets that we couldn't find anything in, right? Now it's just virtual. Big mess, yeah.
Yeah. Jenny said she's looking for ideas to do that. How do you organize your Google Drive? Color coding is an idea. Great. Add dates to files.
You can
Nice.
also, in addition to color coding, you can name your file with a number. So I color mine, but I also start with like 1 and then the year, because that puts it at the top. So there's only a few that I need to use every day. Those are the ones I have numbered, and you can use the any number of times. So I could have 4 number 1s, and they're all going to come first.
Oh, Valerie, you just saved me. I love that. Thank you. Great. Lots of ideas in the chat too. Okay, we are finishing up. I don't want to stop because we have such great ideas flowing. But please do fill out our survey. That's really helpful for us. Join us in the fall if you'd like to. Share with your friends. We really appreciate you all. Thank you for being here. We'll stay on a few minutes if anyone wants to continue chatting for just a few minutes. Thank you.
Thanks so much.